Hey, welcome to Vice Grip Garage. I'm Derek, and this is my 1970 big block Buick Wildcat. I bought this rig sight unseen up in Canada and road tripped it all the way back to Tennessee, and it did pretty good. Albeit there's a handful of things that need to be addressed, namely the brakes, or should I say brake. It goes by left front, and it is a squosh touchy. Did I just get in a car wreck? So we're gonna resolve that by firing this thing back up, putting it under the knife, and doing a power disc brake conversion on this thing. And then my wife and I are gonna jump in and we got a test on it a little bit. And we're gonna do that via Broadway, downtown Nashville. Should be a lot of fun, should be a lot of work. Let's see if this will fire up and pull itself into the carport there. I tried to tootle this around every now and then, but the brakes are so bad I just couldn't do it anymore. But it is a reliable unit. It's about 35 degrees today, and this thing's been sitting a long time. Let's see what it says. I'm sure we're gonna have to pump fuel back up to the fuel make it happener. Man, the interior in this thing is actually really nice. Come on, buddy. I can't believe it's got a battery. Well, we're gonna have to prime it, I guess. It's been sitting that long. Got the block of bags primed up, filled the bowl so it's got some fuel to grab onto. Wow. Help me understand this now. Do I gotta rub two spoons together, or what was the magic on this one? I don't think there was there? Okay. Looks like we need a Leatherman choke. That could be part of the problem, for sure, being how cold it is. We're almost out of battery. Let's see what it says now. Not happy. Well, for Pete's sake, never seen such a Mickey Mouse operation in my life. Go for hole. Oh wow, I never even put a battery in this. Well, we should maybe do that. It's got this tiny little fella in there. It's pretty cute looking. Grab us some farm fuel here. It's only a couple years old. So I think we're gonna go ahead and style this thing up with a new battery that's the right cold cranking amps. Let's even got a go handle. There we go. Still has the clampulator thing, you know what I'm talking about? Those usually disappear right away. Prime it again. This is way too much, but we probably need it. Temperature's actually dropping. All right, come on now. Get this block of bags to fire. Oh, okay. Come on now. Ha ha. This is really twirling now. Huh. It's never been this stubborn. Maybe I didn't fill the bowl enough. I'm pumping it, but it's not doing nothing. There we go. Let this thing warm up for 5 to 10 minutes. Really is a solid car. All right, we'll get her crawled out of here. Ease it, just ease. A guy heard your feedback. What about a family rig? I got you covered. Right now through December 5th at vicegripgarage.com, you could enter for a chance to win this absolutely stunning Yukon Denali XL diesel. My wife and I personally special ordered this truck right from GM, and I'm here to tell you, we checked every single box they would allow us to check. It is absolutely loaded. There's too much to talk about. Let's just say this, the interior is gorgeous. All of the screens and doodads and Super Cruise and all that stuff. The rear has the giant entertainment screen, separate audio, separate climate control. We put the buckets in there so it's easier to get in and out. It's got the third row seating, all of which conveniently folds down for the hardware store runs, sporting activities, groceries, whatever it may be. And then of course the elephant in the room. What's under the hood is a 3-liter turbo diesel. My wife loves it because it averages around 25 miles to the gallon, or 700 miles a tank for her. But when a guy slides behind the wheel, the 305 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque definitely lets itself known. That gives this truck over an 8,000-pound towing capacity, whether it's a travel trailer, a boat, a cargo trailer, a flatbed with your project on it. This rig is going to haul it. And again, you can go to vicegripgarage.com. Every $5 you spend gets you 1 entry for a chance to win the truck. And I'm going to throw in, I don't know, $15,000 cash along with the truck. Again, now through December 5th, vicegripgarage.com. Good luck. Couple things I want to mention here, then we're going to dig in. And I'm the wrong person to be talking about the importance of brakes, but I do want to make a couple notes here for probably some commonly asked questions or concerns that you might have. Now, don't be afraid to just put drum brakes back on your rig. They work just fine if you set them up correctly. They've been on cars forever. They're still on cars. 99% of my rigs have drum brakes. But you also have to keep in mind, what are you using the car for and what are your future plans? Because that does impact what you want to spend your money on when you start replacing your brakes. And that's how I came to the conclusion, discs are going to work better for me up front. Things like, well, if you're actually going to be daily driving the thing, let's face it, people can't drive anymore. And maybe I'm just getting old, or maybe everyone said that forever. We just never heard it. But braking distances seem to be increasingly more important. Speed limits have significantly increased. Everyone's driving a dang old race car, and it seems like the importance of being able to mash that whoa pedal are just more prominent today. You know what I mean? So I decided to put discs on this. It's a boat, and it's got a 455 4-barrel. We got to let sing. We should be able to whoa the thing up as well. It was actually terrifying driving this thing home with one wheel locking up. Now, why did I just do discs on the front only? Well, A, save a bunch of money, B, save a bunch of time, and R, the front does 70% of the braking anyway, so the drums can just ride along and we'll let the fronts do the work. I chose a kit that retains the factory spindle, and again, I did that for cost savings and time. Removing the spindle, we could accidentally damage the upper ball joint, the lower ball joint, or the tie rod ends, and then we're putting more money and time into repairing all of that. This kit should hopefully allow us to strip it down to the factory spindle, put on some bracketry and doodads, I don't know, never used the kit, and bam, we've got a caliber and dinner plate brakes. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the kit and then dig in. So here's the dinner plate Breakalyzer 700 kit. I wanted to open the boxes and lay everything out, make sure I had everything we needed before I tore that thing down and had a whale out of commission on the lift. I think it's all here. I also don't really know what I'm looking at. But quite honestly, let's think about this for a minute. If we were to rebuild the drum brakes in this car, we would buy a master cylinder, rubber line, wheel cylinder, brake hardware kit, brake shoes, and brake drums, right? Well, when we look at this kit, here's basically our drums. Here's our bearings, here's our seals, here's our rubber lines, here's our master cylinder. So really all we're buying extra, I bought a booster, which we didn't necessarily need. I just did it to be safe. The bracketry, the hardware, the knowledge and instructions, and the calipers, the pads would be like our shoes. So if we're throwing an investment into this thing for a little bit more, we can hopefully get a much better braking system. All said and done, hopefully this is a kit you could do right in your driveway. This is going to be the most difficult part, I think, and that's exactly where we're going to start. So it is only a pedal push rod and 4 nuts. And then, of course, the brake lines on the master cylinder. The problem for me is contorting my body in the vehicle to access that stuff. I'm going to look like that girl that comes out of the well on that movie. You know, ow, something popped bad. Ouch, what was that? Clavicle. I just got to looking in here and kind of panicked. The bigger challenge is going to be that combination valve or proportioning valve. That's going to be a lot of work. More so not snapping all of the lines off in this entire vehicle. I did look in the kit, and it actually does come with a new one and all the stuff with it. And there's this really cool cutaway I wanted to show you guys quick because I talk about this all the time. This is the brake emergency light, and that's that pin that I keep talking about, this shuttle moving or valve. And you can see where it rides in the center, and sometimes this will get stuck either, well, and typically forward. See that groove right there? This will come forward and boom. So we need to get rear hooked up, the fronts, and then we got a rear inlet, front outlet, and that'll go under the new master cylinder. Hopefully you can see how big this one is. The new one is smaller in circumference, should fit in there a little bit neater. I am still going to start on the inside of the vehicle. We'll bust these lines off, get this whole thing out of the way, and then we'll have much more room to fight figuring out what we're going to do with that, or at least plan for it. Well, this might not be too terribly bad. Big old Buick in here. And the dang old dome light works, which is unheard of. So we've got some sunshine in here. But basically, that clevis right there, we've got to undo. And then that bolt, there's one on the other side, and one up there. So I'm going to get this pin out, make sure I can get that loose, and then we'll move into starting to work on our lines up here, which is going to be the old heat juice. I know it's hard to see anything, but at least our perspective is shared. There's the pin. Make sure we lose that. Should be a washer there. And then it should slide off, which is not going to until we can loosen it up enough. I'm thinking. I want to take note of where this brake pedal's at. Okay. So now we need to get this line off and this line off right here. Now technically we could just cut these because we're going to end up replacing these lines when we put the new proportioning valve in, but I do not have a fluid extractor, so it would be nice to manage the flow of brake juice coming out of here. So if I can get these knocked loose, we could take the 4 bolts off on the inside and know that we can just run these off. So first thing is we're going to start with some heat, of course. Move this wire. After some heat, we'll give it some juice. We want to juice the nut and the tube itself. The challenge is always getting the nut to spin on the line. And then we're going to tap it just lightly, don't want to bend it. But we're trying to break the seat between the tube and the nut. Then, this is called a parrot jaw locking plier. If you play with brakes enough, they are vital. Easy. Okay, now see how it's twisting the line? Not good. We're not there yet. Juice. Nope, we're not going to spend much more time on this. If this doesn't work, now I'll take a regular plier, grab the tube, don't crush it, just hold it firm, and work it back and forth. A little more juice. There we go. Success. Now we'll do the same back here. There we go. So now that we got our lines knocked loose, let's crawl back inside, get those 4 mounting bolts off that actually holds the booster to the firewall. So now guys, got a 9/16 on a wobble jockey and an electric wrist. No. Okay, I was gonna say. Can't see nothing. Oh no. Well, guess we'll go ahead and take that collar off. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. Can't see it, I can just feel it. And I just got to get that top one. Oh, I wonder what Kenny Wayne Shepherd's doing today. Take these lines off all the way. When I get new master cylinders, which is once a week at minimum, I keep these plugs. They're just the plugs that come in them when you get them rebuilt. They're like rubbery. So when I take this out now, I can just jam this plug right in that orifice, and that'll keep it from spilling everywhere. Get on there, you little rascal. Well, both fluid lines are now disconnected and the vacuum line, so we can go back in the cabin and try to work off that clevis, and then we'll pull the whole unit out. Well, the guy was tugging on this, and I overlooked 2 nuts back in here, so there's 6 total on this rig. And these are really gummed up with some sort of spackle and grease and paints. Might have to hit these with heat too. Oh no, I can't fit my ratcheting rig on there. This is going to take 4 months. Okay, let's see if we can wrestle this out of here now. Hit the old brake line. All right. It's a booster, not a boy. And I believe this plate is going to stay, but I'm just going to grab it for now. And that sure did open up a lot of room. Couple quick notes here. I actually didn't have to take the top 2 nuts off. That just held the plate to the firewall for whatever reason. It looked like one whole assembly, but it wasn't. Now we're going to set this aside. Not going to discard this yet because we're actually going to use this for reference and measurements here a little bit down the road. This seal on the back was completely shot. This was the right move. I'm going to go ahead and clean this structural plate up and totally rebuild it over in the spray booth. Let this start drying while we do some measuring, figuring out, and whatnots. There's an old gasket on here I want to get off, and then all this oil and everything else. Gasket man, 'cause you gotta leave the support. Well, the guy's got the paint booth fired up. Fan high speeds. We're gonna rebuild this thing quick. I think we're gonna put her on heavy, just like a Rush baseline. Oop, I didn't get all the brake clean off. Whoops. Good enough. Ain't no SEMA rig. Rebuilding, brand new, carbon fibre, lightweight racing material. So while that's drying in there, we could start kind of roughing in a plan. One of the first things we're going to do is look at the overall length. I'd say around 11 inches, roughly, to the firewall. This one is, call it, almost 13 to the button. Now the constructions here say to run these lines that were included in the kit off this side. But I'm worried if we do that on the car, if we come out 13 now, we're way up in here. And then those lines are going to be right against this wheel well arch. I think we're going to go this side of it into that distribution valve. Now, that's going to be like down here-ish. We're going to have to get really creative how we get the rear line, which is way back there. This front line is the wrong fitting size already, so that's an issue. And I can't even see the bottom. So unfortunately, I think we're going to be running a lot of brake lines. Sweet. Went ahead and rebuilt the firewall back here too. That was all rusty and whatnot. So now I need to take advantage of this room and try to get as many of these lines off as I can. It's going to save me a bunch of time down the road. So let me suffer and see what I can come up with. Can't even see two of them. So this is all assembled, got the valve and the bracket underneath, and just made sure that the lines they sent were actually going to fit. Doesn't look as pretty if you do it on the other side. If you do it on the other side, it actually lines up correctly, but this is going to work. It still transfers juice from the rear to the rear, and from the front to the front. We'll have a line coming off here. Should be one over here, right there. So we'll have to go from like here to, for example, the captain side, and we can go to the drinker side over there. This, we're going to try to go from there, hopefully put a barrel in and connect to the rear that's down by the frame. But we'll see. So that's kind of mocked up, should maybe-ish, work-ish. And now we got to take a measurement, an important one. We're going to use the old one for this. We're going to go from the face of this, or what would be the firewall, to probably the start of this hole here in the clevis. We want to get that exact measurement because this is where the pedal was sitting in the car. Okay, and we're going to transfer that as close as we possibly can from here to here. That way the pedal isn't hanging too high or it's not too low on the floor. Keep in mind we've got the brake light switch hanging up in here that lever is going to come into, and that typically only has about 1 inch of play. So you want to try to get this, I usually say like 1/8 of an inch. I mean at most 1/4 of an inch, because then you'll have to really play with your switch. So just keep that in mind before you do all the hard work of bolting all this in. Rough these in, get them pretty close, and then also sliding this over isn't going to be an issue. I can also see that this is not big enough to fit that rod. So I need to take care of that as well before we mount this in the car. And I could take this all the way off and just verify, and then we'll deal with it. So we take this and test runner. Yep, we got issues. Not gonna work. So now we need to precisely measure that. So the right thing to do would be to get a dial caliper out and measure that. So I've got mine here. That looks about right. Yep. So that fits a little loose. So we're going to use this one, which will give us just a tickle of movement on our other piece once we get that drilled out. So this time I actually will use a dial caliper. This measurement is pretty darn important, not only for pedal position, but we got to make sure that we're pushing our piston all the way to the end of its throw so we don't get air trapped back in here. We don't want to be short throwing this and not getting full pressure or PSI out of our ports. So we're going to come over here, got this zeroed out. I got a bit in here just for a point of reference. You're right about there. We could say 0.345. Be a nice number. And then we're going to adjust this. Oh, wow. That's not good. You can see how far off this one was, and we're in trouble because it's bottomed out. And you can see we're not there yet. We're about an inch away. So we might have to cut this because this rod can't come through here to get closer. Well, before a guy makes any irreversible modifications to the unit, going to go ahead and snag it in the rig. Look, we can measure all we want, but we got to scan our peepers on this thing and just make sure. So let's set it in, just use 1 or 2 nuts, reach up in there, look, see what we got, and then we'll figure out how to make this thing work. Apparently the booster side of this is fairly universal. Where it probably comes to play specifically for this rig is going to be the bracketry converting the stock spindle to the calipers. You know, all told and said, when it is done, in fact, this is probably going to go in and out 319 times. But that's what we got to do to make sure this is correct. It's not liking the bolt pattern on there. We might have to waller a little bit. Wallerage. Is that the right waller size? It is. Just a little bit of wallerage. There. All right, let's try this again. Okay, that rod must be at the pedal. PS lines need a quick little whoop, bend in them. There we go. Yeah, see, that works better. Those lines, there's no way they would have worked on this side. Well, you're upside down under the dash with me, literally. I'm going to do my best to try to show you what we're doing here. I got a couple nuts. This one up there, and the one down here on, to make sure that it's sucked in. But we're looking at the relationship of this peg or stud to this. And I already adjusted the brake switch, which is this. It was all the way in. I pulled it all the way back about as far as I can. When this comes up and hits that, that's what turns the brakes off, on, off, on. So that's about as high as we can go. If I can move this out of the way, I can see a little better. Now I got to get that other piece and we'll measure. But I think we're going to be okay now that we've made some adjustments. Okay, I got the rod installed. Now I found that shimming it at the firewall and adjusting the brake switch was more practical than cutting the rod. I don't want to mess with the throw because the angle of that rod also changes if it's shorter or longer. So now we'll get that bolted up, get the pin back in there and the washers, and then we got to go on the other side and snug everything down on that, and then we've got our pedal, booster, and cylinder. Well, there we go. All done, buttoned up, brake switch adjusted. Everything's plugged back in. Should be good. Guy was over there scribbling, dreaming up some plans on the Buick, and then real life sets in. It's so easy to spend more money than a project is worth. It just seems like everything has gotten so expensive today, even if you're bartering, trading, selling, turning in your cores, all this and that, or overextending yourself to finish a project. We've all been there, let's be honest. And it's not even just automotive anymore, it's life in general. I can certainly understand how someone could get snagged up in credit card debt, personal loans, medical debt. Making a payment, but the balance isn't changing, your payment isn't changing, just feels like you're treading water. If this sounds like you or a loved one, I need to introduce you to PDS Debt. PDS Debt can get you a customized financial plan in as little as 30 seconds to put you back into the driver's seat towards financial freedom. Pay off your debt faster, put the money back where it belongs, which is your pocket. They're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau, and they have thousands of 5-star Google ratings. There's not even a minimum credit score. If I had needed a product like this, PDS Debt is definitely what I would use. So don't wait until debt forces you off the road. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. You can get your free assessment. And best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/vicegrip, pdsdebt.com/vicegrip. And one more time, pdsdebt.com/vicegrip. Thank you to PDS Debt for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the Buick. To the right Buick guy, these wheels are worth a lot of money. Big brakes, the good brakes. Well, this is where we live now, and I think we're going to stay over here and finish up everything, including the new soft rubber line and the hard line that I need to make and run. So one side is completely done, and then we'll move over to the other side. No sense in bouncing around back and forth. Let's get after it. Okay, both sides are stripped all the way down to the spindle. I cleaned them up a little bit. I didn't go too ham on it. And then of course, we rebuilt her. This side is still drying, so we're gonna start on the captain side. Got all the parts and pieces and everything laid out here. Something to note, this does have a bearing spacer. You cannot forget that whatsoever. But basically these tabs or ears go on this bracket. Everything bolts into the existing spindle. Let's go ahead and knock all this together. Going to be using red Loctite on any of these hardware, and it is nice nylon stuff, grade 8 stuff, which is nice. And these are painted. I don't have to paint those. Those are ready to rock. Well, so far this is clicking together pretty much like adult Legos. Self-explanatory stuff. There is some spacers here and here, but everything bolted right up. Now we're getting ready to prepare the spindle, put the bearing spacer on, and then pack the bearings. I'm going to do those by hand. I'm going to do both sides quick. It's kind of messy. And then we'll get our rotor on here, set to preload, and then we can finally mount the caliper. Eventually we'll get a mounting tab on here for the line, get the line ran and all that. But onto the spindle here, this should be tight, but this one's too tight. It's not even remotely close. So I have to take a little bit of material off, and I can just quickly do that with a piece of sandpaper and just make sure that I'm evenly sanding this. We're not going to have to take a lot off, and there's a ridge here that it's really catching more than anything. If this is loose, you can spike your spindle, take a punch, knock it, and it creates a dimple, but that material's got to go somewhere, so it creates a little spike. And that will tighten this up enough to where you could tap it on all the way around, and this isn't going to be wallering around or moving or anything like that. Emery cloth works better, but I don't have any. It's better, but we're not there yet. Give me a few minutes. Once I get done with this, I'll follow it up with 320, smooth this out. It doesn't really matter if there's fine scratches in here because the bearing rides on this essentially. It's not rolling against it. Well, we're getting close, but I don't think I want to take any more off of there. Instead, I'm going to, I don't want it to get out around. I'm going to try heat. And I wish I had a pipe. I have a piece of muffler pipe. I don't know where I put that, but it's too short. But I'm going to try to heat this so it expands, and then just tap it on in there. Nice little tap. There we go. So I've got the inner bearing in and the seal. Greased up the seal a little bit. Got a little bit of grease on here. We'll slide this on. Put the outer bearing in, and then I've got to find the washer and spindle nut where we use that. There's the nut. Got to find the washer. I'm going to clean those up. And then I go till my elbow pops, but the right way is crank her down about 5 to 10 foot-pounds, back it off while you're spinning this. 5 to 10 foot-pounds, back it off, 5 to 10 foot-pounds, back it off, and then you tighten it till you get all the play out of it. And you maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, beep, as close as you can find alignment to the cotter pin holes, and there's usually 2 of them. Well, technically 4, but. And that's it. You're looking for 0 tolerance. You don't want to be applying pressure. You'll wear your bearings out sooner than you had hoped. Put it that way. Oh, there's the washer. Let me clean these up and we'll get this set. Of course, I opted out of the drilled and slotted rotors. I don't think this is going to be doing any auto crashing or whatever it is anytime soon. This will be a big upgrade on its own. Yep, clean. Well, for heaven's sake. Maybe I do need to clean it. Seat. Seat in there. Seat. Seated. Sit down. Sit down in there. I like that. I do. Here we go. Caliper time. Let's see. Kind of just saddle them for a minute. And then we'll grease these pins up. Yeah, I said it. Oh boy, I had to dig for this, though, I'll tell you that much. All right, yep. Okay. Come on. There. Turns out it'll be aligned if you align it. Huh. There. Torque these down to 12 million. Or until the old, kicks in, and should be good. Well, we have dinner plate brakes complete, other than the line. And I think I said I was going to do this line and finish this side first and then move over to the other side, but you know how this show works. I changed my mind. Huh, weird. Let's go knock out the same thing on the other side while my mind is fresh, and then we'll do all the lines at the same time. Well, the guy's rocking away on this side. Might as well do the line over here first, since I'm already over here and got all the tools. It came with the mounting tab and this fitting and everything. I drilled a hole in the frame. Instead of using this and putting the tab over here and kind of having this situation going on, and then a really tight bend here and then up over, decided to go here, and then we could just have a nice bend right over the frame rail. There's a banjo on this side. I'm just going to make sure I hold this to where it's in a natural position, fully turned, and then I'll snug this fitting down here, and boom, brake line done. Soft line anyway. Well, the guy's got the soft rubber line, I guess vinyl PVC hybrid line on both sides. Time to start running the hard lines in the car, and I think I'm going to start. I'm a big fan of this is bite the bit and get it over with. So the one that's going to go here, loop, come under, go like this, go like that, go down, go back, go across, over here, under that, this way, under the cross member, up over, like this, over the frame, and then into the fitting on the other side. That sounds sweet. Let's start with that one. Okay, finally got the old line worked off, going to the other side. Getting to all the brackets on that and the bolts was kind of tricky, but got her out. If you're not building one of them semi-show cars and stuff, use this copper nickel stuff. There's two massive benefits to it. One, you can form it and bend it by hand really easy. It comes in 25-foot rolls. And two, this resists corrosion, unlike factory lines. So if you're in a state where they use salt, or you see a lot of snow and stuff like that, this is your guy. I'm going to put one fitting on, work it backwards through the route. So I'll start way up top, come underneath, and start molding it across the cross member, work it up over, bring it over and plug in that side. And then this side, once I form it and I'll clamp it coming back this way, then I'll have to use my El Cheapo Hobo Freight flare tool in the car, and we'll hook that fitting up last. I'm going to show you guys how to use this machine. Unless you do brakes multiple times a week like I do, don't get something like this. These are expensive, and the little kits that I'm going to use for the rest of the fittings work just fine. But if you've got to put brake lines in a whole car, boy does this save a bunch of time. We just put our die in here with whatever flare we want. I've had this thing for a very long time, and it's pretty great. Just do that, tighten it down, go to operation 1, done, operation 2, done, open this up, and there's our perfect flare. Now, look what's in my hand. Let's not forget that. Of course, you make a perfect flare, and you always forget the nut. We're working this across. I got to make sure my nut comes with me. I don't want to make a tight bend and have my nut over here. I got to undo the bend and bring this across, and that messes with the integrity of the line. We've got a bracket here, another one here, and a third up here if we need it. But see, I'm being real gentle. I just need to get it to where we're going. Now I'm going to use the frame to start working a curve into this. And the frame itself is my curving tool. Now we'll go to the other side. So here it is right here. Since I used the frame, that is the correct bend. And I'll loosely just plug this in like that. Now we could tighten that up a little bit because that is the exact shape of the frame. So we'll tighten that radius, and then we'll work backwards with these clamps and clamp it all back in the factory place across the other side. I've still got to tighten this, but hopefully you can see how nice and natural that looks. In fact, you can see the factory line mark right there, but we've got nice easy bends coming across. So now I just got to work this down into here, up like this, tight this way, and then over. By the way, if you need to do a really tight bend, grab yourself a full cold snack you haven't opened yet, or a big hub socket like this, and it's as easy as just using something around what you need, and you can make really nice curves. This is great for the curly cues that sometimes come off of, if you imagine going round and round and round, coming off of here to the distribution block when they're on the frame. And the reason automobile makers do that is the body is not solid mounted to the frame. So as you're driving, there's flex and movement between this and the frame itself. The curly cues, just like a coil spring, give it some flexibility without putting pressure on the fittings. Here's our line up here. I've already measured it. I've got to tuck it in by the steering gearbox here really quick. But I got to get my nut on here first and then slam in a flare, and we've got one plugged in. I ran this rear line really quick because it was much easier to do it with this line not in the way. And then I came back and I actually remembered the nut, believe it or not. I always like to leave a little room on your line with these because sometimes flares don't turn out the greatest. And you got to redo it. And that is junk. So we are making another. We'll keep chopping the tree down until we get one that will only leak on every day that ends in Y. Well, we have officially turned a corner. All of the lines are in. Now I'm going to pour some brake juice in here. I'm actually just going to let it sit for a minute, let gravity do its thing, and then we're going to come back and bleed this master cylinder while this is sitting. I'm going to start cleaning up tools and wiping everything down. It's snowing outside right now. So now I'm going to slowly pump the brake pedal here. And basically we'll keep doing this until all those air bubbles disappear. Nice and slow. We don't want to aerate the fluid. Well, I'll be here if you need me. Usually takes 10-15 minutes, but we're already building pressure, which is a fantastic sign. Sometimes these dual-sided reservoirs can be a pain to bleed, but this one seems like it's going to be fine. So after I got the air out, pumped her up quite a bit, sent some fluid through the lines, started filling the calipers, then you just crack a bleeder and wait. Gonna let that drip for a little while, shut the valve, pump it about 5 times, bam! That's bled, and then we'll just move to the right side. And then of course, we can't forget about the rear. We gotta come back here and melt the nuts off of the wheel cylinders, and then probably have to tear all that apart, because we need to bleed the rear as well. Well, I was just testing this side. Tire fits, they do say you have to have a 15. I did have to waller out the center a little bit, and I'm going to show you guys that tomorrow. And I hit this with some SOS, and my boy Bradley helped me clean it up a little bit. We'll probably do that to all the wheels. But it is very late. Gonna head home, catch a few hours of sleep. We'll see you guys in the morning, and we'll get this thing finished up. We're almost there. Well, good morning. Day 2 on the Big Block Wildcat. 25 degrees today. Central Tennessee. Believe it and/or don't. Anywho's, we got to do some work on the front wheel, and then we've got to bleed the rear of this rig, look at a few things, contemplating maybe throwing some exhaust hangers on it or fixing the tips that shoot out 20 feet. And then we got to jam this thing on the road, put some miles on it, test this thing out, make sure it woes up now. You know what I mean? Now I got to swing by and grab my wife Jessica as well. We'll head to Nashville, right down Broadway, do some stuff, have some fun. Okay, let's get after it. Let me throw the wheel up on the wheel milling machine over here and show you what we got to do. So this kit does specify you need 15-inch wheels to clear the garbly gook and whatnots. It does not tell you that the center hub is, well, you can see this raised lip. It's that much larger than a factory one. Normally, maybe doesn't cause an issue. However, with the factory Buick rallies, there is a ring inside of this wheel, and that is interfering. On the back, it's obviously not an issue. On the front, it's a big issue. Okay, so you see the difference here? Yeah. Ex-husband, current husband. So we've got to fix this situation, right? So I've took a bunch of measurements, and this ring here does not mean it's hub centric. In fact, you can see it's never had any wear or anything like that. Even when I pulled it off, it didn't scuff it up. It doesn't touch. I used a mic to verify that. This is a conical seat wheel, so the lug nuts themselves center the wheel on the lug nut. Also, this is one solid piece welded in here. It's not multiple pieces supported by this. But I am frustrated because these Buick Rallies are getting really hard to find in decent condition. And again, to the right guy, they're worth a lot. But unfortunately, I got to come in here and we're going to scrape that out to where we have clearance. I'm going to run it like this and use the die grinder. So give me about 4 months and, you know, I'll have her whipped out. We're getting close, but not quite there. Got to take just a little bit more. Try her again. There we go. I have sold all of the old drum, because they're the big drums, all of the old drum hardware, backing plate and everything to a friend of mine for 25 bucks. So those don't go to waste. Those can live on in another Buick. Where did my wrist ruiner go? So this is great news. I've worked on this already. This just needs hangers. One there and one over here. I'm not really sure what happened, and then I'll probably cut this or at least get rid of these tips. Fix that up a little bit. Posi traction rear end. That is nice. So I've got to get to that bleeder up there. We'll crack one at a time. Just let it gravity bleed. Newer exhaust system. That seal looks great. Really solid, dry car, which is crazy for Canada. Frame looks good. Solid builder. That's a little scaly, but wouldn't be afraid of that. Well, the guy got it. It's back to dripping. We'll let that run until it really makes a mess of the tire and wheel here and makes a puddle here. And then we'll call that good. Just letting the air bubbles work themselves out. Well, the rear bled out just fine. Got juice on both sides. Doesn't look like any air. Gonna top these off. And it is time to put the cap back on. Boop. But we're not finished. There's one more small thing. Our brake light. The stock one's over here. It's not gonna reach. So I'm going to snip that, hook it into this, and plug that in. And just like, as in like, just like there. Just like that. What? What's going on now? Never got a battery. Just like that, disc brake kit complete. Well, if you're thinking about doing a disc brake conversion at home, I hope that this gives you some confidence. I am confident that you can do this at home. The biggest tool that I used was patience, a little bit of gumption. Just make sure that you're prepared to run brake lines. Check that you have like the copper crush washers and all the hardware and things like that before you dig in. And you can get her tackled. And I have done these out in the weeds and in the gravel and all of that as well. Now, before I pick up my missus, let's go ahead and test this first, make sure it stops, and then wash her down quick, and then we'll scoop her up. We're gonna head for Broadway. I might even grab a cheeseburger or something. I don't know yet, we'll see. Oh, yeah, huge difference. And it doesn't throw me across the car. Let's brake with no hands. Stay straight. I pulled a little to the left, but we're also kind of coming up a hill. Something I forgot to mention is check your vacuum. Put a vacuum gauge on manifold pressure. I would recommend at least like, I don't know, 18 to 19 pounds. Sounds like a lot, but that's what these vacuum boosters usually want, unless it specifies it's a low vacuum booster. Otherwise, you're going to have a really firm pedal and, well, not power brakes essentially. You just have manual brakes with the booster doing not a lot. They do make check valves and ancillary vacuum pumps if you have like a really rowdy cam or something like that. Man, it's weird that I have brakes. Anyway, this is a really solid car now. It runs great, it stops great. I gotta close the vents though, for Pete's sake. Let's go wash this up. Oh, I forgot to put gas in. Oh no! I guess we'll buy some corn fuel. I'm sure it's hard to see, but there is snow flurrying right now. I already forgot about that situation. We'll stop and get some clamps and fix that. It's like an extra bumper almost. Hope a guy's door doesn't freeze shut. Get this sprayed off here. Heater works great, this thing. Even the blend door works. Well, we are back in the Versatube carport coal mine. I'm gonna put this clamp on here. I need a deep well. I have a feeling the reason they went to tie wire was the clamp here was slipping. Oh, that'll be all right. And get on out of that. Rinse and repeat over here. This has those really chintzy, cheap screw-on tip things. So I'm gonna do the right thing here. And put on new slide-on cheap tips. But see, they're chisel tip. Matches the body line. And they're in a little bit. Just like that. That's what we need. Okay, let me do the exact same on the other side, but let me show you the difference. Yep, okay. Oh, all right. Well, the Wildcat is all hussied up. There's only 2 things left to do before we go pick up my pride and joy and head to town. You probably already know what they are. I didn't forget. Bam! And don't let me catch you running just one of those. It's official. Well, the guy's got a terrible coffee, and I almost got the roasted peanuts, but it didn't really look like peanuts. And I picked up Jessica.
Yep.
So this is your first time in the Wildcat.
It is.
What do you think?
It's not bad. I actually thought that you had like cleaned it really nice because I was coming in here, but you said you didn't. It looks great.
So that's the first thing she said was, wow, it really cleaned up well, but I really didn't do anything other than wipe the dust off the dash. This is actually a really solid car. Even the door seals and everything are actually...
Yeah, it's like no wind noise.
Pretty good.
Heat, so that's close.
Did you notice the realistic AM to FM converter?
I didn't, because you have 18 pine trees blocking it. Literally.
There's 3 pine trees
okay.
by the Boone Way.
Oh, there's a big tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you only buy the 3-pack, otherwise it's too expensive.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to tootle some back roads, find our way to Broadway in Nashville, scoot around a little bit. I don't know if we're going to have time to go get something to eat or not, because I forgot a vehicle at the airport again. So I'm going to drop Jessica off there. She'll grab that. And then I'm going to put some more miles on this rig. But overall, I think everything works in this car except the clock, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
You notice how the dash is exactly like the Le Sabre?
It's very similar.
But anywho's, let's cruise, have some fun. Jessica approves, which is always nice. I gotta keep that. Fan made me that in Canada.
Oh.
Gotta show. Apparently, when you lose a lot, you get a second stadium right next door to your other stadium. So that's pretty neat. Downtown Nashville, we made it. The Batman building is a dead giveaway. And also this big bridge right here. We don't come here a lot. We're not really city folk. What have we walked this like twice, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's literally.
That's literally it in our life. And we said, wow, that was neat. But we'll take you guys all these years living here. We've never really brought you out here, let you see Broadway. It's good to see it in the daylight. There's a lot less puke and, you know, homeless people. So let's check it out. Someone's got the pedal pub running over there and it's flurrying. It's kind of a weird time to get out and hit the cold snacks. But anyway, boy, this is the place to be if you're a musician. We've got Jason Aldean, there's Jelly Rose Place, that Post-it Note Kid is here somewhere. You've got Miranda Lambert, Kid Rock. Pretty much all the big musicians have some sort of bar or restaurant, and most of them have like a rooftop place up there. But this is, boy, this is a whole different scene at night. It is shoulder to shoulder. Wedding parties, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, birthdays, you name it. And it's not that long. What is this, probably 300 yards long?
Yeah, it's not very long at all.
I would compare it to the same as like Deadwood, South Dakota.
Might even be shorter than that, actually.
Yeah, maybe even shorter. It's just, the buildings are just really packed in here pretty much. And then at the end up there on the left, well, I'm glad I got brakes. That was nice.
We'll see this right next to Jason Aldean.
They're in cahoots. Of course, you got world famous Tootsie's up here on the right. Every single musician in the world, country western wise, real country western wise, has been there. And that's the one place that I wanted to go. And also Roberts, which is right there. But up here on the left is a Country Music Hall of Fame. We've never been there. If you guys want to go there and want me to take you one of these days, let me know. And we can end up in Nashville again and I'll run you through the Country Music Hall of Fame. They also have a bunch of cars in there, like Elvis's limo and a few others as well. So this is a similar scene. In the summer, they have all those windows open, fresh air kind of stuff. Boy, this 70 Buick sure has a dashboard in her. Anyway, this is a very well-rounded project car, you know. Runs great, stops great, shifts, everything works but the clock. Which is minus, I don't know, 3 bananas or whatever on the classic car scale. And this is normally when I ask you fellers and fillettes, what do we do with this rig now? But nay, not this time, because this rig is gone. Rescue, repair, rehome, and Vice Grip Garage is in full effect. This thing is sold, and I'm actually going to be parking it here shortly for its new owner to pick it up. He sent me a well put together email that I could actually read and interpret, and made an offer that was fair and had the funds. So a guy said, sure, but I will only sell it to you if I fix the brakes, because I don't feel right about it going to a new home with one brake working, and quite frankly, it was too dangerous to drive. So I put this disc brake kit on. I went through the car for him absolutely free. I did not charge him a penny, and he got a significantly better deal than what I purchased the car for. And that is my goal, and I'm happy, and I'm glad it's going to be going to a good home. And he has plans to paint this thing and keep it on the road, which is awesome. So that's going to do it for this episode of Vice Grip Garage. If you're not subscribed, please consider it's free and easy, no obligation. Just click the button right next to Vice Grip Garage. You get notified when a new free episode comes up. And we'll see you guys very soon.